Hi guys, welcome to Medical Megaman channel. In this video, I am going to discuss the coagulation of blood. So, what is meant by coagulation of blood? Coagulation of blood is nothing but the formation of definitive hemostatic plug and subsequent stoppage of bleeding, right? So, you are thinking, what is meant by definitive hemostatic plug? So, see here, there are temporary and definitive hemostatic plug. Hemostatic means stoppage of blood. Static, right? So, in order to completely stop the blood loss, platelets are not enough. Okay, along with platelets, clotting factors are also needed. Here what happens is only platelets function. Here, along with platelets, other clotting factors will also involve, plus clotting factors, right? Factors. So, in order to form a definitive hemostatic plug, along with platelets, clotting factors are required. Here, only platelets will form a temporary hemostatic plug. So, it is nothing but temporary hemostatic plug is nothing but, suppose this is your vessel and there is injury, right? This is injury. There is rupture. So, simple adhesion, and this is adhesion, and this is aggregation, right? Simple adhesion and aggregation of platelets is temporary hemostatic plug. But in addition to platelets, the other clotting factors like fibrin, right? These are fibrin threads. Let me write in green. These are fibrin threads. Fibrinogen is a clotting factor. I will discuss the all 12 clotting factors. Just now, a fibrinogen is a clotting factor, and fibrin is the activated form of fibrinogen, right? Fibrin plus platelets, right? This forms permanent or definitive hemostatic plug, right? This is the most efficient compared to this, right? Simple. Now I will discuss the clotting factors, and also I will tell you the technique for remembering those, right? So there are 12 clotting factors. There are 12 in number, 12 clotting factors, and they are numbered from 1 to 13. So there is variation, right? 1 to 13, but total they are totally 12. Remember, please remember, clotting factor number 6 is not present, right? So total number is 12. So let me write one sentence so that you can remember them easily. Freshers party tonight. Come pack pizzas and call seniors. Please have fun. Okay? Let me write. Freshers party tonight. Okay? Come pack pizzas and call seniors. Seniors, comma. Please have fun. Okay? So remember this sentence. You will remember everything easily, right? So freshers. What is meant by freshers? Keep this letter, first letter. Okay? Clotting factor 1 is called fibrinogen. Fibrinogen, right? Clotting factor second. This is second. P. Prothrombin. Clotting factor third. T. Tissue thromboplastin, right? Tissue. Let me write in black. Tissue thromboplastin. Sweet. Clotting factor 4. Remember, clotting factor 4 is calcium ion, just calcium ion. Remember that one. Ca2 plus calcium ion. Next, clotting factor 5. Please remember, clotting factor 5 is called proaccelerin. Okay? Proaccelerin. Right? Now, clotting factor 6 is absent, as I said here. Clotting factor 7. Proconvertin. Convertin. Right? Now, clotting factor 8. Clotting factor 8 is anti-hemophilic factor A. Right? Anti-hemophilic factor A. Please remember, from clotting factor 8, 9, 10, 11, these are easy to remember because clotting factor 8 is anti-hemophilic factor A. Clotting factor 9 is anti-hemophilic factor B. This is also called as Christmas factor. That's why C. This is anti-A. Okay? Christmas factor. Right? Please remember, the 10th one is special. It is not anti-hemophilic. There is one special name for the 10th clotting factor. That name is Stewart-Prover factor. This is also called as prothrombin activator. Why? The name itself says activator. Activator means what? Activation. The thing which activates, right? Prothrombin. This Stewart-Prover factor or factor 10 will activate the prothrombin. Okay, I will discuss in further. Okay, now clotting factor 11, as I said, these are from 8 to 11. It is easy to remember, right? Anti-hemophilic factor A, anti-hemophilic factor B, or Christmas factor, Stewart-Prover factor. It is important, right? Please remember, factor 10 is important. Factor 11 is anti-hemophilic factor C, A, B, C, right? In middle, this will come. Now, 12th clotting factor is Hageman factor. These are some name. There is no other go. Please remember, Hageman factor. Finally, HH. Okay. You are thinking there is P, there is A here because the another name for anti-hemophilic factor C is plasma thromboplastin, right? Plasma, let me write, plasma thromboplastin antecedent. Thromboplastin antecedent. You can remember it as anti-hemophilic factor C only. It will be easy. Next, F, clotting factor, last, 13th. So this is important. Fibrin stabilizing factor. Fibrin stabilizing factor. Fibrin stabilizing factor. Okay. I have listed all 13 clotting factors. See here. Remember this sentence: freshers party tonight. Come back with us and call seniors. Please have fun. Right? You can remember like this. Remember first 4 things. Calcium you can easily remember. See, calcium 4. Fourth is calcium. That is fixed. Now these 3 you should remember in order: fibrinogen, prothrombin, tissue thromboplastin. These are inevitable, right? But here comes 5 and 7. These two things are similar. Pro-accelerating, pro-converting. Okay, in pronunciation they look similar, right? Pro-accelerating, pro-converting. Factor 5 and 7. And factor 8 to 11, it's easy to remember. Anti-hemophilic factor A, B, C, and this one is special one, Stewart-Prover factor. Please remember, it's an important factor. Next, 12 and 13. This is also inevitable, Hageman factor 12. And the last one is very important, the fibrin stabilizing factor, factor number 13th. Mechanism of coagulation. So, what is the mechanism of coagulation? See, there are 3 steps in the mechanism of coagulation. 3 steps. Okay, 3 stages, better say stages. First stage, it is the activation of factor 10. As I said previously, remember factor 10 or Stewart-Prover factor is important factor, right? So here comes its role. Activation of Stewart-Prover factor or factor 10, that is Stewart-Prover. So this is the first step or first stage. Second stage is second, conversion or formation of thrombin, that is activated form, from prothrombin, right? Conversion of prothrombin to activated thrombin. This is activated form. What factor helps? This factor helps. Okay, activated 10th factor, right? Third stage is conversion of fibrinogen, which is in inactive form, to active fibrinogen to fibrin, activated form. So which factor helps? This factor, activated thrombin, right? So let me assign the clotting factor number to these. So as I said, this is Stewart-Prover factor is factor number 10. Prothrombin is factor number what? 2. And finally, this is the factor number 3. Sorry, factor number 1. So you can remember easily. Stage first is the activation of factor 10. Stage second is the activation of factor 2. Second, right? Now I'll discuss the details of this mechanism. See, in stage 1, first stage is achieved by two pathways, right? What is first is activation of Stewart-Prover factor. So activation of Stewart-Prover factor is achieved by 2 pathways. What are those? First one, intrinsic pathway. Second one, extrinsic pathway. You are thinking, why are these names? Because in intrinsic pathways, all the clotting factors and factors that help in coagulation are present within the blood circulation only. Okay. But in extrinsic pathway, the factors present outside the circulation will involve, right? Suppose this is the tissue and this is the blood vessel. Blood is flowing. Along with the rupture of this artery, there is damage to the this tissue also. So what happens? This tissue will release some factor called tissue thromboplastin, and that will help in the coagulation process. That's why the factor which is from outside, that is from outside tissue other than the factors present inside the circulation, is involved in the coagulation in this pathway. That's why the name is called extrinsic pathway, right? Simple. Now I will discuss the most important part of this video, right? This is the actual thing you should remember. See, In stage 1, what is the ultimate goal? To activate factor 10, right? Stage 1 is the activation of factor 10 or Stewart-Prover factor. So, activation of factor 10 is achieved by two pathways. One, intrinsic pathway, second one, extrinsic pathway. In intrinsic pathway, the factors that help in the activation of factor 10 are present in the circulation only. They are not from outside. But in extrinsic pathway, one factor which is released from tissue which is injured involves in the activation of factor 10. Simple. See, the first step in the intrinsic pathway of stage 1 is activation of factor 12. Factor 12. Activated. A means activated. So, how is this achieved? See, vascular injury. Negative charge on the ruptured artery or maybe vessel, any vessel. These are the stimulations, right? And this 12th factor will attach to this area, and with the help of high molecular weight kininogen and kallikrein, this factor is activated. Here, these two are the some kind of stimulus. These two are cofactors. Cofactor means what? The things which accelerate this process, right? Which helps in a conversion of inactivated factor 12 to activated factor 12. Now, this activated factor 12 in turn activates factor 11. Okay, 12, 11 in order, you can remember. So, what is the cofactor for this reaction to happen? The cofactor is high molecular weight kininogen. Here it is high molecular weight kininogen plus kallikrein. Here only kininogen. Now, factor 11 is activated. This activated factor 11 will further activate, not 10. Please remember, not 10. Activate factor 9. Right? So here the cofactors are factor 7 and calcium ions. So, what is factor 7? Factor 7 is pro-converting. Okay? You can remember just factor 7. So, this activated factor 9 ultimately activates factor 10. This is the ultimate goal, right? Activation of Stewart-Prover factor. What is this? Stewart-Prover factor. Stewart-Prover. Ultimate goal of stage 1, right? So you can remember like this. Cofactor for this reaction is calcium ion is common plus factor 8. Activated factor 8. See here, remember like this. Vascular in intrinsic pathway of stage 1, vascular injury and negative charge of the blood vessel attracts the factor 12. With the help of high molecular weight kininogen and kallikrein, factor 12, which is in inactive form, is converted to activated factor 12. This activated factor 12 will again activates the factor 11 with the help of high molecular weight kininogen. And again this will activate factor 9. Ultimately factor 9 activates factor 10. 12, 11, not 10, 9. Next 10. 12, 11, 9, 10, right? Cofactors you can remember. Here HM high molecular weight kininogen plus kallikrein. Here only high molecular weight kininogen. The first two steps is over. In next two steps, calcium is common. 7, 4, 8, right? This is also is in order. You can remember easily. So this is step 1 in stage 1. This is step 2. This is step 3. This is step 4. So there are totally 4 steps. Simple. So this activated Stewart-Prover factor 10 will activate what? What is the stage 2? Activation of second clotting factor. What is second clotting factor? Prothrombin. Right? Prothrombin is converted to thrombin. Please remember the cofactor for the stage 2 reaction is proaxelerin. Calcium is common, calcium ion, along with this proaxelerin. Proaxelerin is what? Factor 5. Factor 5 and factor 7 are in series, right? Proaxelerin, proconvertin. So, what is the third stage? Activation of fibrinogen to fibrin, right? This thrombin forum converts fibrinogen to fibrin. Please remember, thrombin is a proteolytic enzyme which is dependent on vitamin K, right? This is proteolytic. It just cleaves the fibrinogen to convert it to fibrin, right? So, what is the cofactor for this reaction? Simple, calcium, Ca2 plus, right? So, this is the intrinsic pathway. In extrinsic pathway, everything is similar from, so these two are similar, stage 2 and stage 3. Only difference is in extrinsic pathway, as I said previously, the factor outside the circulation will involve. So, injured tissue or vascular damage will release tissue damage. Let me write tissue damage will release what? Tissue thromboplastin. Tissue thromboplastin. This tissue thromboplastin will again activate the factor 7, which is proconvertin, right? Factor 7 is important here. Factor 7. Now, which thing will activate? This thing. Tissue thromboplastin, which is released from the damaged tissue, will activate factor 7, which is proconvertin. And this proconvertin will again activate this. What? Ultimate step of stage 1, activation of factor 10. Simply, calcium is the cofactor. And also, platelet phospholipids also help. So, if you read extrinsic pathway of blood coagulation, the first thing that should come in your mind is factor 7. This is the main factor, key factor, right? Now I will discuss the final processes that occur in the coagulation of blood. The stage 3, what is stage 3? Formation of fibrin. So, fibrinogen is converted to fibrin, right? So, which thing converts fibrinogen to fibrin? Thrombin. As I said previously, thrombin is the proteolytic enzyme. So, the thrombin is the proteolytic enzyme that will cleave this fibrinogen. This fibrinogen has 3 domains, right? See here. For the complete formation of clot, these final processes should occur, right? In this, the first concept is formation of fibrin, ultimate fibrin. See here, this is fibrinogen. It has central domain and 2 peripheral. These are called fibrinopeptide A, this one, and this one is fibrinopeptide B, and central one is central domain. What happens is this thrombin will attaches to this central domain and cleaves this fibrinogen. This will release the fibrinopeptide A plus fibrinopeptide B. So these forms fibrin monomers. These fibrin monomers aggregate aggregate to form protofibrils, right? So 15 to 20 protofibrils will aggregate again. 15 to 20 protofibrils aggregate to form fibrin, final fibrin. So this is the polymer, right? So this is how the final fibrin is formed with the help of thrombin. See here, this is not sufficient. Why? You know, the suppose this is the clot, platelet aggregation plus fibrin threads. Of course, RBCs are also present. RBCs also are also present. These are RBCs should be large, right? These are RBCs. RBCs are also present. So you can see there is lot of space here. These spaces, right? The serum will occupy these spaces. Serum will occupy this space. What happens? The size of this clot is more initially. So if size is more, it's not able to fit into that precisely to that injury. So what happens is clot retraction process takes place. Clot retraction. What happens in clot retraction is simple. The serum will go out. Serum will be excluded. Serum will go out. So if serum will go out, if serum goes out, what happens? This size decreases, right? This becomes like this. Now this is the stable final clot. Please remember, for the stabilization and clot retraction, factor 13 is required. For stabilization, this fibrin, after for all these processes, fibrin must be stabilized, right? Stabilized. For stabilization, factor 13 is required, activated factor 13. So again, which factor activates factor 13? Nothing but thrombin, right? So I will discuss the clot retraction in detail. So what is the mechanism of clot retraction? Now I will discuss the mechanism of clot retraction. How clot retraction occurs. The ultimate goal of clot retraction is to remove the serum present in the spaces of the clot, right? Then clot size decreases after the removal of serum. How it is done? See, suppose this is your platelet, one platelet, which is present inside the clot, and these are fibrin threads, which are also present in the clot. What happens is these platelets will give rise to spicules. These are spicules, and these spicules will attach to the fibrin threads. These are spicules of platelets, and these spicules have a special name called filopodia. Filopodia. And this will attach to the fibrin threads as shown in this diagram. Now what happens is the platelet, this will contract like this. If this contract, then it pulls fibrin threads also like this. What happens? The space has decreased, right? Like this, pressure is created and serum is removed. Serum which is present in between the spaces is removed like this. So in platelets have glycoproteins 2B and 3A. This these glycoproteins facilitate this process, right? In the diseases like some Glanzmann thrombocythemia. In this disease, what happens is there is deficiency of glycoprotein 2B and 3A. Because of this, the platelet cannot contract sufficiently. Therefore, the stabilized ultimate clot is not formed properly. That's why the clot retraction is not complete. Then there is no perfect sealing of the injury. Right? This happens. Now, in platelet deficiency also, the same thing happens. If there are no platelets, then how come the original ultimate plug will form, right? So, deficiency of platelet and Glanzmann thrombocythemia are the severe diseases. So, normally, clot retraction clot retraction starts 30 seconds after the clot formation. This suppose this is your clot, it is just formed. After 30 seconds it starts shrinking, and this will convert to smaller size clot like this. So 30 seconds it starts after 30 seconds, but 50% clot retraction is completed at 1 hour after the clot formation. 100% completed at about 18 to 24 hours though. So the clot retraction is a slow process. Now there is prolongation of clot retraction in some diseases, as I said before. Deficiency of glycoprotein 2B and 3A in disease like Glanzmann thrombocythemia and deficiency of platelet causes prolonged clot retraction. How prolongation is measured? See here. If time taken for to complete 50% of the clot retraction is increased, the normal is 1 hour after the clot formation. If this time is increased, then this is called prolonged clot retraction, and it occurs in two diseases. One, Glanzmann thrombocythemia. Second one, platelet deficiency. In this disease, there is deficiency of these two glycoproteins. Thank you.